Commander Jake Morrison stood in the cold metal hallway of the space station. His hands were behind his back as he watched the big screen in front of him. On the screen, alien leaders from across the galaxy were having a meeting. They were talking about humans like they were nothing more than bugs. The main speaker was a tall creature with green scales covering his body. His name was High Chancellor Vexitar, and he was the leader of the Caltharian Empire. His yellow eyes looked mean as he spoke to the other aliens in the room. "These Earth creatures think they can make deals with us," Vexitar said with a laugh that sounded like grinding metal. "They are weak, they are young. They have only been in space for a few hundred years. We have ruled the galaxy for thousands." Jake felt his jaw get tight. He had been trying to make peace with these aliens for 3 years. Every time humans sent messages asking for trade or friendship, the aliens would laugh or ignore them completely. In the space station's communication room, Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez was listening to every word. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls as she recorded everything. Amy had dark hair tied back in a neat ponytail. She had been working in communications for 5 years, and she had never heard such cruel words before. "Sir," Amy called to Jake through the intercom, "they're talking about the mining rights to the Kepler system again." Jake walked over to Amy's station. The Kepler system had 3 planets that humans wanted to use for farming. The soil was good, and the weather was perfect for growing food. But the aliens claimed they owned it, even though they had never been there. On the screen, another alien stood up to speak. This one looked like a giant insect with 4 arms and black eyes that covered half of its head. It was from a race called the Zephyrians. "The humans sent us another request for the farming planet," the insect-like creature said. "They want to grow food there for their hungry people. How funny. Maybe we should let them work the farms for us like slaves." All the aliens in the meeting room started making sounds that must have been laughter. Some clicked their teeth, others made buzzing noises, and a few howled like wild animals. But they were all laughing at humans. Jake had heard enough. He was about to turn off the screen when Vexitar stood up again. The big green alien raised one of his clawed hands to make the room quiet. "I have news about the human problem," Vexitar announced. "Yesterday, one of our patrol ships had an accident near their transport route. A human civilian ship was destroyed. About 3,000 of their people died." Jake felt his heart stop. Amy turned around in her chair to look at him. Her face had gone white. "An accident?" Amy whispered. But Vexitar kept talking, and his words made it clear that it was no accident at all. The ship was called the New Hope. It was full of human families going to start a new colony. Our ship commander said his weapons fired by mistake. Of course, we will not apologize. It was their fault for being in our space. The other aliens made their laughing sounds again. Some of them clapped their hands or tentacles together. They thought the death of 3,000 innocent people was funny. Jake had to hold on to Amy's desk to keep himself standing. The New Hope had been carrying families. There were children on that ship, mothers and fathers who just wanted to start a new life on a peaceful planet. And these monsters had killed them all on purpose. "Send this recording to Earth Command right away," Jake told Amy. His voice was quiet, but Amy could hear the anger in it. Amy's fingers moved fast over her controls. The message would take 2 days to reach Earth because of the distance. But Jake knew that when the leaders on Earth saw this recording, everything would change. Captain Lisa Bennett was in her small scout ship called the Shadowhawk. She had been hiding near the edge of the Caltharian space border for weeks. Her ship was painted black and had special equipment that made it invisible to alien sensors. Lisa had seen the attack on the New Hope with her own eyes. She had recorded everything with her ship's cameras. The Caltharian warship had waited for the human transport to come close. Then it had fired all of its weapons at once. The New Hope never had a chance to fight back or escape. Lisa watched the recording again on her small screen. She could see the transport ship breaking apart. She could see the escape pods being shot down one by one. Not a single human had survived. The Caltharian ship had made sure of that. "Computer, send this recording to Earth Command on the emergency channel," Lisa said. "Message sent, Captain," her ship's computer replied. Lisa looked out at the stars. through her window. She had been a soldier for 15 years. She had seen many battles and many deaths. But watching innocent families get murdered in cold blood was something different. It made her sick to her stomach, but it also made her very angry. Back on the space station, Jake was reading reports from other human colonies. The attacks on civilian ships were getting worse. Just last month, aliens had destroyed a medical supply ship that was bringing medicine to sick children. The month before that, they had attacked a school transport. The aliens always said these were accidents. But Jake knew better. They were testing humans. They wanted to see how much they could hurt humans before humans would fight back. Amy brought Jake a cup of coffee. She sat down in the chair next to his desk. "Commander, why don't we fight back?" Amy asked. "We have warships too. We have soldiers and weapons." Jake looked at her and smiled sadly. "Amy, our leaders think we're not strong enough yet. They think if we fight the aliens now, we'll lose, so they keep trying to make peace instead." Amy nodded, but Jake could see she wasn't happy with that answer. Neither was he. What Amy and most other humans didn't know was that Earth had been preparing for war for 50 years. Hidden bases were building new weapons. Secret factories were making warships that no alien had ever seen before. Human scientists had been working day and night to create technology that would surprise their enemies. But the alien leaders thought they knew everything about human strength. They had spies who told them that humans only had 12 warships and old-fashioned weapons. The aliens believed their own lies about human weakness. Jake looked back at the screen where the alien meeting was still going on. Vextar was now talking about dividing up human space between different alien empires. They were planning to take over Earth and make humans into slaves. They have no idea what's coming for them, Jake whispered to himself. In 2 days, his recording would reach Earth, and then the real war would begin. President Robert Hayes sat in the deep underground bunker beneath Mount Weather. The room had no windows and thick metal walls. Red lights blinked on the computers around him, and he could hear the quiet hum of air machines keeping everyone alive, this far under the ground. The message from Commander Jake Morrison had arrived that morning. President Hayes had watched the alien meeting recording 3 times. Each time he felt more angry about what the aliens had said about humans. But the worst part was learning the truth about the New Hope and the 3,000 innocent people who died. General Patricia Young stood at the front of the room. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp green eyes. She had been a soldier for 30 years, and she had never lost a battle. Today, she was going to show the president something that would change everything. "Mr. President," General Young said, "it's time to show you what we've really been building." Admiral Kevin Clark pressed a button on his control panel. The lights in the room went dim, and a big hologram appeared in the center of the table. It showed a map of space with hundreds of red dots scattered throughout the galaxy. "Each red dot is a secret human base," Admiral Clark explained. He was a short man with a bald head and kind eyes, but when he talked about military matters, his voice became hard as steel. "We have been building these bases for 50 years. The aliens don't know about any of them." President Hayes leaned forward in his chair. "How many bases are we talking about?" 647, sir," General Young replied. "Each one is hidden inside an asteroid or on the dark side of a moon. Each one has been building warships and weapons for decades." Dr. Alan Foster stood up from his seat at the table. He was the head of something called the Quantum Warfare Division. He was a thin man with thick glasses who looked more like a teacher than a soldier, but he was the smartest person in the room. "Mr. President," Dr. Foster said, "the aliens think our weapons use old technology. They think our ships are slow and weak. They have no idea that we've been working on quantum physics and artificial intelligence for 50 years. Dr. Foster pressed another button. The hologram changed to show a massive spaceship. It was 5 times bigger than anything the aliens had ever built. Its hull was black and covered with weapons that looked like nothing anyone had seen before. "This is the Vengeance-class dreadnought," Dr. Foster continued. "We have built 200 of them. Each one can destroy an entire alien fleet by itself, and the aliens don't even know they exist." President Hayes felt his mouth fall open. 200? How did we hide something that big? Colonel Sandra Mills smiled from across the table. She was in charge of human intelligence operations throughout the galaxy. She had short red hair and bright blue eyes that seemed to see everything. Sir, we've had people working undercover in alien governments for 20 years, Colonel Mills said. They think these people are traitors or diplomats, but really, they're our spies. We know where every alien military base is located. We know how many ships they have and what weapons they carry. We even know what they're planning to do next week. Colonel Mills pressed her own button. The hologram changed again to show detailed maps of alien worlds. Each map showed the locations of military bases, weapon factories, and command centers. Our agents have been placing special devices near these targets for years. Colonel Mills continued. When the time comes, we can destroy their entire military system in a few hours. They won't even know what hit them. President Hayes stood up and walked around the table. He looked at each person in the room. These were the smartest and strongest people in the human military, and they had been planning for this war since before he was even born. Why didn't anyone tell me about this before? The president asked. General Young answered, Sir, every president since 2387 has known about Project Shadowfall, but we never talked about it unless we absolutely had to. The fewer people who knew, the safer the secret would be. Admiral Clark pointed to another part of the hologram. It showed a group of space stations hidden behind Jupiter's moons. Those are our ship construction yards, Admiral Clark said. For 50 years, we've been mining asteroids and building new ships. The aliens think we have 12 warships total. Actually, we have over 3,000 ships ready for battle. Dr. Foster stood up again. And that's not even our best surprise. Show him the Titan array. The hologram changed one more time. Now it showed the entire galaxy, but with thousands of small blue dots scattered everywhere. The blue dots were connected by thin lines of light, making a giant web across all of space. Each blue dot is an artificial intelligence defense platform, Dr. Foster explained. They're hidden in empty space between star systems. They've been there for 30 years just waiting and watching. When we activate them, they will control every hyperspace travel route in the galaxy. No alien ship will be able to move anywhere without our permission. President Hayes sat back down in his chair. He felt dizzy from all the information. Humans weren't weak at all. They had been preparing for this war longer than he had been alive. General Young walked over to stand next to the president. Sir, the aliens have made a big mistake. They think we're scared little animals who will run away when they attack us. But humans have never run away from a fight. We've always gotten stronger when someone tries to hurt us. Colonel Mills opened a file folder on her desk. Our psychological analysis shows that the alien leaders are bullies. They pick on people they think are weak, but they've never fought someone who is actually stronger than them. When they see our real military power, they'll panic. Admiral Clark nodded in agreement. The alien fleets are big, but they're spread out across the galaxy. They've never had to defend their homeworlds before. They don't even have good shields or armor because no one has ever attacked them seriously. President Hayes looked at the hologram showing all the human bases and ships. It was incredible. While the aliens were laughing at humans and calling them weak, humans had been building the most powerful military force in the galaxy. What about innocent alien civilians? The president asked. I don't want to hurt people who had nothing to do with attacking us. General Young smiled. Sir, our weapons are very precise. We can destroy military targets without harming anyone else. Our soldiers have been trained to protect innocent people, no matter what species they are. Dr. Foster added, our artificial intelligence systems can tell the difference between military and civilian targets. We won't make the same mistakes the aliens made when they killed our families. President Hayes thought about the 3,000 people who died on the New Hope. He thought about all the other human civilians who had been murdered by alien bullies. He thought about human children who lived in fear because aliens might attack their homes at any time. How long will it take to get our forces ready? The president asked. Admiral Clark looked at his watch. Our ships are already in position, sir. Our agents are standing by at their targets. The Titan array is online and ready to activate. We could begin the attack in 6 hours. General Young placed a folder on the table in front of the president. Sir, we've prepared 3 different battle plans. Plan Alpha is a limited strike to show our strength. Plan Beta is a full attack on their military forces. Plan Charlie is total war until they surrender completely. President Hayes opened the folder and looked at the battle plans. Each one was incredibly detailed. Every aspect of the war had been thought out and planned perfectly. The aliens expect us to either surrender or launch some desperate last attack. With our 12 ships, Colonel Mills said. Instead, we're going to show them what happens when you murder human families. President Hayes closed the folder and looked around the room one more time. These people had spent their entire careers preparing for this moment. They were ready. The question was whether he was ready to give the order. Gentlemen, ladies, the president said slowly, I want you to activate Plan Charlie. Show the galaxy that humans protect their own. General Young smiled and picked up a secure phone. Yes, sir, Mr. President. It will be our pleasure. Commander Tony Martinez guided his squadron of fighter bombers through the thick atmosphere of the military world Titan base. The planet was covered with weapon factories and training centers for the Caltharian army. From space, it looked like one giant military base with no civilian areas at all. Tony flew his sleek black fighter between the tall metal towers that housed alien weapons. His ship's computer was showing him exactly which buildings contained military equipment and which ones held alien soldiers who were not fighting. The human weapons were so precise that they could destroy a single room in a building while leaving, the room next door completely undamaged. Target the weapon storage facilities first, Tony told his pilots through his radio. Remember, if you see any aliens trying to surrender, do not fire at them. We're here to stop their military, not to hurt people who want peace. Tony's squadron fired their quantum missiles with perfect accuracy. Each missile hit exactly where it was aimed and destroyed exactly what it was supposed to destroy. The alien weapon factories exploded in bright flashes, but the buildings where alien workers lived were not touched. On the ground, General Linda Carter was leading her human soldiers through the capital city of Zephyria Prime. The city was huge, with tall glass buildings that reached up toward the clouds. Millions of alien civilians lived and worked in these buildings, and they watched in amazement as human soldiers walked through their streets. General Carter was a strong woman with black hair and brown eyes. She had been leading soldiers for 20 years, and she had taught them to always protect innocent people, no matter what species they were from. Remember your training, General Carter told her soldiers through their helmet radios. We are here to remove military threats, not to hurt civilians. Show these aliens what human honor looks like. The human soldiers moved through the city with perfect discipline. They walked up to alien military buildings and placed small devices on the walls. These devices would shut down all the weapons and equipment inside without harming the alien soldiers. Alien civilians watched from their windows as human soldiers helped alien children, who had gotten scared and lost their parents in the confusion. The humans gave the children food and water and helped them find their families again. Many of the alien civilians had heard their leaders say that humans were cruel and violent. But now, they could see that human soldiers were more kind and careful than their own military had ever been. Captain Peter Johnson was in command of the orbital weapons platform called Mjolnir. The platform was hidden behind one of Zephyria Prime's moons, and it had the most powerful weapon that humans had ever built. The weapon could destroy entire continents or crack planets in half, but Captain Johnson wasn't going to use his weapon to hurt anyone. Instead, he was going to use it to send a message that every alien in the galaxy would see and remember forever. Target the large moon, Captain Johnson told his weapons officer. I want you to carve words into the surface, make them big enough that every alien on the planet can see them with their own eyes. The Mjolnir's main weapon fired, but at very low power. The beam of energy was so precise that it could write letters on the moon's surface like a giant pencil. The beam moved slowly across the gray rock, burning words that would be visible for thousands of years. When Captain Johnson was finished, every alien on Zephyria Prime could look up at their moon and see the message that humans had left for them. The words were simple but powerful. Peace through strength. Humanity protects the innocent. Meanwhile, in the outer areas of the star system, Commander Nicole White was leading the human boarding parties that were taking control of alien warships. The alien ships were huge and powerful, but their crews had never fought against enemies who could appear inside their ships without warning. Commander White wore special armor that made her nearly invisible. She and her soldiers could walk through the walls of alien ships using technology that the aliens didn't understand. They moved through the enemy vessels like ghosts, appearing wherever they needed to be. "Remember, we want to capture these ships, not destroy them," Commander White told her soldiers. "The alien crews are not our enemies unless they try to fight us. Give them a chance to surrender." Nicole's team appeared on the bridge of the Caltharian dreadnought World Render. Commander Zixthala and his crew were shocked to see human soldiers standing in their command center. They had not seen the humans enter the ship. They had not heard any alarms. The humans had simply appeared like magic. "Commander Zixthala," Nicole said politely, "I am Commander White of the Human Marine Corps. Your ship is now under our control. Order your crew to put down their weapons and move to the dining hall. No one will be hurt if you cooperate." Zixthala looked around his bridge. Human soldiers were standing next to each of his crew members. The humans had moved so quickly and quietly that they had taken control of the entire ship before anyone could react. "How did you get on my ship?" Zixthala asked. Nicole smiled. "We walked through the walls. Your technology can't detect us, and your weapons can't hurt us. Now please give the order for your crew to surrender. We don't want to hurt anyone." Zixthala had been a soldier for 40 years, and he knew when he was beaten. These human soldiers were not cruel or angry. They were professional and polite, but they were also clearly much more advanced than anyone had imagined. "All crew members, this is the captain," Zixthala announced over his ship's intercom system. "Put down your weapons and report to the dining hall. We surrender to the human forces." All across the galaxy, the same scene was happening on hundreds of alien warships. Human soldiers appeared inside enemy vessels and took control of them without firing a shot. The alien crews were confused and frightened, but they were not harmed. The most shocking surprise came when Dr. Charles Brown activated something called the Titan Array. Dr. Brown was a thin man with gray hair who worked at a secret human base hidden in the asteroid belt around the Starwolf 359. "Titan Array coming online," Dr. Brown announced to his team of technicians. "All nodes reporting. Ready status." Across the galaxy, thousands of small devices that had been floating in empty space for 30 years suddenly came to life. These devices were artificial intelligence computers that had been waiting patiently for this moment. They were so small that alien sensors had never detected them, but together they formed a network that covered the entire galaxy. Each device took control of the space around it. Any alien ship that tried to travel faster than light would find itself stopped by an invisible barrier. The humans now controlled every hyperspace route in the galaxy. No alien fleet could move from one star system to another without human permission. Admiral Zixthala was in his office trying to understand the reports he was receiving. In just one day, the human military had taken control of his entire empire, but they had done it without killing any innocent people and without destroying any civilian buildings. "Sir," his assistant said, running into the office with another datapad. "The humans have taken control of all our warships, but they're not hurting our soldiers. They're giving them food and medical care." Zixthala read the report with amazement. Human soldiers were treating alien prisoners better than the aliens had ever treated their own troops. The humans were sharing their food and medicine with alien soldiers who had been trying to kill them just hours before. "And sir," the assistant continued, "the humans have sent a message to all of our civilian leaders. They want to set up a meeting to talk about peace." Zixthala sat down heavily in his chair. He had started this war by ordering the attack on the human transport ship New Hope. He had expected the humans to be weak and easy to defeat. Instead, they had shown military power beyond anything he had imagined, combined with kindness and mercy that his own people had never displayed. On the flagship Vengeance, Admiral Parker was meeting with her senior officers to plan the next phase of the operation. The main military forces of 3 alien empires had been defeated or captured. But the humans were not finished yet. How many civilian governments have agreed to peace talks? Admiral Parker asked. Colonel Mills looked at her data pad. 47 planets have already agreed to meetings, Admiral. They want to discuss ending the war and setting up new trade agreements. Most of them are also asking for protection from the remaining hostile forces. Admiral Parker nodded. Good. What about the military commanders who ordered attacks on our civilians? General Young answered this question. We have arrested the leaders who were directly responsible for murdering our people. They will face trial for their crimes. But we're offering amnesty to any alien soldier who was just following orders. Admiral Parker looked out the window of her ship at the alien world below. She could see the lights of the cities where millions of alien families lived. These people had nothing to do with the attacks on human civilians. They deserved to live in peace. The aliens thought that strength meant the power to hurt innocent people. Admiral Parker said to her officers, "We're going to teach them that real strength means the power to protect innocent people, and we're going to show them that humans protect everyone, not just other humans." Captain Johnson received a message on his communication system. It was from alien civilians on the planet below. 6 months after what everyone now called the 6-Hour War, Ambassador Helen Davis stood in front of the newly built Galactic Assembly Hall. The building was made of white stone and glass, and it was designed to be beautiful rather than threatening. Inside the great round chamber, representatives from over 300 different alien species sat together in peace. Helen was a middle-aged woman with brown hair and warm green eyes. She had been working as a diplomat for 15 years, but she had never imagined she would be speaking to the leaders of the entire galaxy. She wore a simple blue dress that represented Earth, and she carried no weapons because weapons were not allowed in the assembly hall. Friends and fellow citizens of the galaxy, Helen began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's excellent sound system. 6 months ago, our worlds were at war. Today, we gather as equals to build a better future for all our children. In the front row of the chamber sat the former High Chancellor Vex Thala. The big green alien who had once laughed at humans and ordered attacks on their civilian ships now looked very different. He wore simple clothes instead of military uniforms, and his yellow eyes showed sadness and wisdom instead of cruelty and pride. Vexathala had asked to speak at today's meeting. When Helen called his name, he stood up slowly and walked to the speaking platform. Many of the aliens in the chamber remembered when he had been one of the most feared military leaders in the galaxy. "My fellow beings," Vexathala said, his voice now gentle instead of harsh. "I stand before you today to ask for your forgiveness. I was the one who ordered the attack on the human transport ship New Hope. I was the one who laughed when innocent families were murdered. I was wrong, and I am deeply sorry." The chamber was completely quiet. Everyone could see that Vexathala's words were sincere. He was not making excuses or trying to blame someone else for his actions. "I believed that strength meant the power to hurt others," Vexathala continued. "I thought that being strong meant making other people afraid of me. But humanity taught me that I was completely wrong about what strength really means." Vexathala looked directly at Helen as he spoke. "True, strength is the wisdom to protect those who cannot protect themselves. True power is the ability to show mercy to your enemies. True leadership is helping others become better instead of keeping them down." Many of the aliens in the chamber were nodding their heads in agreement. The war had changed everyone's understanding of what it meant to be strong. Helen smiled at Vexathala and nodded respectfully. Then she continued with her speech to the assembly. "Humanity does not seek to rule the galaxy," Helen explained. "We do not want to control other species or take over their planets. We want to work together with all peaceful beings to build a galaxy where everyone can live safely and happily." Helen pressed a button on her control panel and a hologram appeared above the assembly chamber. It showed a map of the galaxy with hundreds of small blue lights scattered throughout space. "These blue lights represent the new joint defense stations that we are building together," Helen said. "Each station will be staffed by humans and aliens working side by side. Their job is to protect civilian ships and stop anyone who tries to attack innocent people." An alien representative from the insect-like Zephyrian species raised one of her forearms to ask a question. Ambassador Davis, what will happen if someone attacks these defense stations? Helen's expression became more serious. Any force that attacks civilians or threatens peaceful worlds will face the full strength of the human defense force. We have proven that we have the power to stop any aggressor quickly and completely. Fleet Admiral Jake Morrison was watching the assembly meeting from his flagship, the Vengeance 2. The ship was even larger than the original Vengeance, and it served as the mobile headquarters for human military operations throughout the galaxy. Jake had been promoted from commander to fleet admiral after the war. He was now in charge of all human military forces, and his job was to make sure that no one would ever again attack innocent civilians the way the aliens had attacked the New Hope. Admiral, his communications officer said, "We're receiving a distress signal from the Kepler system. Pirates are attacking a civilian convoy." Jake stood up from his command chair. Even after the war, there were still some criminals and bullies who tried to hurt innocent people, but they usually stopped their attacks as soon as human ships arrived. "Set course for the Kepler system, maximum speed," Jake ordered. "Send a message to the pirates. Surrender immediately or face the consequences." The Vengeance 2 and its escort ships could travel across the galaxy in just a few hours using advanced hyperspace engines. When they arrived at Kepler, the pirates took one look at the human warships and immediately surrendered. The civilian ships were rescued without anyone being hurt. This happened almost every week somewhere in the galaxy. Criminals and bullies would attack innocent people, and human ships would arrive to stop them. Word was spreading that humanity would always protect civilians, no matter what species they were from. Captain Lisa Bennett was now in command of the exploration vessel Discovery. Her job was to find new planets where different species could build colonies together. She had just returned from a star system where humans and 3 different alien species were working together to build a new city. "The colony on New Harmony is doing very well," Lisa reported to Fleet Admiral Jake during their weekly meeting. "The human farmers are teaching the Zephyrians how to grow earth crops, and the Zephyrians are teaching the humans how to build better tools. The Caltharian engineers are helping everyone build stronger houses." Jake smiled when he heard this report. The war had ended with humanity winning, but the peace was being won by everyone working together. Dr. Alan Foster was no longer just working on military weapons. His quantum research division was now sharing human technology with peaceful alien species. They were building better medical equipment, faster spaceships, and more efficient power systems. "The technology sharing program is ahead of schedule," Dr. Foster reported during a meeting with President Hayes. "We've given fusion power technology to 47 different worlds, and we've helped them build hospitals and schools using human construction methods." President Hayes was pleased with these reports. The goal had never been to conquer the galaxy, but to make it a safer and better place for everyone to live. Colonel Sandra Mills was still running intelligence operations, but now her job was very different. Instead of preparing for war, she was helping to prevent conflicts before they started. "Our early warning system detected tension between 2 species in the Rigel sector," Sandra reported to the Security Council. "We sent a diplomatic team and some medical supplies, and the problem was resolved peacefully. Both species are now working together on a joint mining project." This was happening all across the galaxy. When problems started to develop between different groups, human diplomats and aid workers would arrive to help solve the issues before they became wars. The most important change was in how young aliens learned about humans. Before the war, alien children had been taught that humans were weak and stupid. Now they learned that humans were protectors who would help anyone who needed assistance. In schools throughout the galaxy, alien children were learning human languages and human history. They were reading stories about human heroes who had sacrificed their lives to protect others. They were learning that the strongest people were those who used their strength to help others instead of hurting them. Commander Amy Rodriguez had been promoted to captain and was now in charge of the Galactic Communication Network. Her job was to make sure that every species in the galaxy could talk to each other easily and share information freely. Communication breakdowns cause most conflicts, Captain Rodriguez explained to a group of alien communication officers she was training. When people can talk to each other honestly and openly, They usually find ways to solve their problems without fighting. The communication network that Amy had built was helping to prevent wars by making sure that misunderstandings and false information could not spread between different worlds. On Earth, children were learning about the war in their history classes, but the lessons were not about how powerful human weapons were, or how many enemy ships had been destroyed. Instead, they learned about the importance of protecting innocent people and showing mercy to defeated enemies. The greatest victory in the war was not destroying the alien fleets, one teacher explained to her students. The greatest victory was turning enemies into friends and showing them a better way to live. As Fleet Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of his ship and looked out at the stars, he thought about how much the galaxy had changed. Before the war, most species had lived in fear of their stronger neighbors. Now they lived in peace, knowing that someone was watching over them and protecting them. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest weapon was not their advanced technology or their powerful ships. Their greatest weapon was their commitment to protecting innocent people and their willingness to show kindness to former enemies. Human ships patrolled the space lanes, keeping them safe for civilian traffic. Commander Zixathala was drinking his morning tea when every screen on his ship went black. He was the captain of the Caltharian dreadnought World Render, one of the most powerful warships in the galaxy. The ship was as big as a small city and had enough weapons to destroy an entire planet. Zixathala set down his teacup and walked to his command chair. His green-scaled skin was darker than most Caltharians, which meant he was from an important family. He had been commanding warships for 40 years and had never lost a battle. "Communications officer, why are our screens not working?" Zixathala asked. The communications officer was a younger Caltharian with bright yellow eyes. He was pressing buttons on his control panel, but nothing was happening. "Sir, all of our communication systems are dead. We can't talk to the other ships in our fleet. We can't even talk to our own engine room." Zixathala felt worried for the first time in many years. The World Render had the best communication equipment that Caltharian science could build. It should be impossible for all of it to stop working at the same time. What Zixathala didn't know was that Lieutenant Colonel Danny Wright was sitting in a secret human base inside an asteroid. Danny was the leader of the human cyber warfare division. He had short brown hair and wore thick glasses. For the past 5 years, Danny and his team had been secretly putting computer viruses into alien communication systems. Danny looked at his computer screen and smiled. Every alien military communication system in the galaxy had just been shut down. The aliens could no longer talk to each other or coordinate their attacks. Their fleets were now blind and deaf. "Phase 1 complete, sir," Danny reported to his commanding officer through his headset. "All alien military communications are offline." 3 star systems away, Captain Rachel Stone was flying her stealth fighter through the wreckage of what used to be Nexus Station. The space station had been the size of a large city and was supposed to be impossible to destroy. It was the main military command center for the entire Zephyrian Empire, but now it was just floating pieces of metal and glass. Rachel flew her small ship between the chunks of debris, taking pictures for her report. The station's shields had been the strongest in the galaxy. Its weapons could destroy 100 ships at once. But the human quantum torpedoes had gone right through the shields like they weren't even there. Rachel had watched the attack happen from 10 miles away. 12 human ships had appeared out of nowhere and fired their weapons. The entire battle lasted only 3 minutes. The aliens never even got a chance to shoot back. "Command, this is Captain Stone," Rachel said into her radio. "Nexus Station is completely destroyed. I count 0 survivors and 0 functional equipment. The target has been eliminated." High Admiral Vexitar was in his private office on the capital world of Zephyria Prime when the bad news started coming in. He was the supreme commander of all Caltharian military forces, and the leader who had ordered the attack on the human transport ship New Hope. Vexitar was reading reports on his computer when his assistant ran into the room. The assistant was a small gray alien from a slave species that served the Caltharians. "Hi, Admiral," the assistant said, breathing hard from running. "We're getting emergency messages from all over the Empire. Our fleets are under attack." Vexithala looked up from his computer. "Under attack? By whom?" The humans only have 12 ships. The assistant handed Vexathala a datapad with the latest reports. Sir, our base at Rigel 7 has gone silent. The fortress at Alpha Centauri is not responding. Our supply depot at Wolf 359 has been destroyed. Vexathala read the reports with growing fear. In the past 6 hours, 17 major military installations had been destroyed or had gone offline. But that should be impossible. The human fleet was too small to attack so many targets at once. Get me a communication link with the world render, Vexathala ordered. Sir, we can't. All of our long-range communications are down. We can't talk to any of our ships or bases anywhere in the galaxy. Vexathala felt his blood turn cold. A military force that couldn't communicate was helpless. Without radios and computers, his fleets couldn't work together. They couldn't even call for help. Suddenly, the lights in Vexathala's office began to flicker. He looked out his window and saw something that made his heart stop. Huge spaceships were appearing in the sky above Zephyria Prime. But these weren't like any ships he had ever seen before. The human dreadnoughts were enormous. Each one was twice as big as the largest Caltharian warship. They were painted black and covered with weapons that seemed to glow with their own light. There were so many of them that they blocked out the stars. Admiral Susan Parker stood on the bridge of the flagship Vengeance and looked down at the alien world below her. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and calm blue eyes. She had been fighting in space for 25 years, but this was the biggest fleet she had ever commanded. Communications, open a channel to the planet, Admiral Parker ordered. Channel open, Admiral, replied her communications officer. Admiral Parker pressed a button on her command chair. Her voice would now be heard by every alien on Zephyria Prime, and every alien ship within 50 light years. This is Admiral Susan Parker of the Terran Defense Force, she began. Her voice was calm and steady, but everyone who heard it could feel the power behind her words. You have attacked our innocent civilians. You have laughed at our attempts to make peace. You have murdered our children and our families. Admiral Parker paused and looked at the alien world on her main screen. She could see the huge cities full of aliens who had thought humans were weak and stupid. Now you will learn why humanity has survived every disaster that our planet has thrown at us. You will learn why we have never been conquered by anyone. You will learn what happens when you threaten human children. On the planet below, High Admiral Vexathala watched through his window as more and more human ships appeared in the sky. He tried to count them, but gave up when he reached 200. There were too many to count. Commander Vexathala was still on his ship trying to get his communications working when he saw the human fleet appear around his position. The world render was supposed to be one of the most powerful ships in the galaxy, but it looked like a toy compared to the human dreadnoughts that surrounded it. Sir, his weapons officer said, should we attack the human ships? Vexathala looked at his tactical display. His ship had 50 heavy plasma cannons and enough firepower to destroy a small moon. But he was outnumbered 200 to 1, and the human ships were bigger and had better shields than anything he had ever seen. No, Vexathala said quietly. If we fire first, they'll destroy us in seconds. Wait and see what they want. Captain Tony Martinez was flying his bomber squadron through the orbital defense network around the Caltharian military world of Fortress Prime. The planet was covered with weapon platforms and shield generators that were supposed to make it impossible to attack. But Tony's ships had special equipment that made alien sensors useless. His squadron flew right through the defense grid without being detected. The alien weapons couldn't shoot at targets they couldn't see. All units begin the attack, Tony ordered his pilots. The human bombers fired their quantum missiles at the alien defense platforms. Each missile could destroy a target the size of a building with perfect accuracy. In 10 minutes, Tony's squadron had destroyed every military installation on the planet without harming a single civilian building. Back on Zephyria Prime, High Admiral Vexathala was getting reports that made no sense. Human forces were attacking military targets all across the galaxy, but they were doing it with perfect precision. No civilian areas were being harmed. No innocent aliens were being hurt. The humans were fighting like no one had ever fought before. They were destroying only military targets and leaving everything else completely alone. It was like they could see the difference between soldiers and families, between weapons and homes. Admiral Parker's voice came over the communication system again. People of Zephyria Prime, we are not here to conquer you. We are not here to hurt innocent civilians. We are here to stop your military from murdering our families. Vexathala realized with growing horror that the humans weren't trying to take over the galaxy. They were just trying to protect their own people, but they were doing it with a level of military power that no one had ever seen before. Your leaders told you that humans were weak, Admiral Parker continued. They told you we were primitive and stupid. They were wrong. We have been preparing for this war for 50 years. Now you will see what human strength really looks like. As if to prove her point, a group of human ships began moving toward the planet's 3 moons. Each moon had a major military base with thousands of soldiers and hundreds of weapons. The human ships fired once. All 3 military bases disappeared in flashes of bright light, but the moons themselves were not harmed, and the civilian mining colonies on each moon were perfectly safe. High Admiral Vexathala sat down heavily in his chair. His empire's entire military force was being destroyed, but not a single civilian had been hurt. The humans were showing a level of control and precision that was almost unbelievable. For the first time in his life, Vexathala understood what real power looked like. It wasn't the ability to destroy everything around you.